Hello there. I am just outside Gate 2 of Icheon Station on the Seoul subway network's Line 4, the blue line, if you ever look at the map. And this is located just outside the south wall of what used to be the south post of the Yongsan garrison, the U.S. military garrison here. It was also home to the United Nations Command, the 8th U.S. Army Command. This was the center of military life in Korea. Or U.S. military life in Korea. If you were stationed here as a U.S. soldier, Army, you would have been at one of many bases around Korea, and this was the place you always wanted to come to because it was close to Itaewon and all of that. And I assume the Air Force personnel were a lot happier at Osan Air Base. I mean, Osan Air Base was just as nice as Yongsan, I think, and you had a nice little ville outside of there that I think was a lot more fun than Itaewon. So I don't know if they were as eager to get here as the soldiers were. Yeah, in 2002 and 2004, the U.S. government and the Korean government signed a couple of agreements that started the process of transferring this land back to the Korean government. So the big plan at the time was to convert the whole place into a park. It was delayed for quite a while, mostly because I think of pollutants they found in the soil. They found a lot of chemicals that were at levels beyond the accepted regulatory levels. So they had to take some time to clean that up. My understanding was that the whole place was to be a single park, except for this one section of it that the U.S. military was going to retain. And that's the section that includes the hotel. And I heard long ago that the hospital was still going to remain in operation, but that's not what happened. But anyway, they did retain a small section of it, that the hotel's still there. I guess the plans for the park maybe changed over time, because when the current president, Korean president, President Yoon, when he came into office, he relocated the official presidential office out of the Blue House, Cheongwade, downtown behind Gyeongbok Palace, to the Defense Ministry headquarters right over here on the other side of this compound. They also set up a presidential office compound just down the street here. When they decided to do that, they also, I guess, changed the plans for the park. And so now what you've got is over on the west side of the compound here, just off in that direction, you've got this place called Yongsan Children's Garden. And that's the place I tried to get into to film a few months back when I did a vlog about that area. I walked through a street over there called Yeongnidan-gil, and I was going to take you into the park with me and show you around what it looks like now. But, you know, this place you have to make a reservation to get into. They strictly control, the number of people allowed in a day. And once you get inside, they don't allow you to bring cameras or microphones, any of that stuff. So I wasn't able to film. So I talked about all of that in that video, along with, the history of this place. So I'm not gonna get into all of that now. But the reason for all of those restrictions is because of the presidential compound over there. And so the end result is that now that section of the park has limited access. But further up the street here on the east end of the base, the old base, they now have Yongsan Park is open. And it's just in a little corner of the compound where there used to be a small apartment complex, and they've left the apartment complex there, and that is the focus of the park right now, and that is freely accessible, no restrictions on cameras or anything like that. So I'm gonna take you in there and show you that. Now, while we're on our way, just over to our right here, where these apartments are, this is a little neighborhood that's kind of off in its own little world. It's a little cool little neighborhood. It's called Icheondong. Dongbu Icheondong. And one of these days I'll take you in there and show you around. But we're gonna head this direction. And we're gonna pass a couple of big sites along the way, including right here, the National Museum of Korea. If you happen to come out here, this is accessible from the subway station. There's a exit right there. There's a little passage just at the bottom of gate 2 where we were earlier. It leads underground over here, so you don't have to come out and walk on the sidewalk on a hot day. This place has a bit of an interesting story. It was established in 1945, and during the Korean War, relocated down to Seoul, Busan. And after the war, returned to Seoul. It got shifted around a little bit over the years. I think it was consolidated into Gyeongbok Palace in the early 70s. But there was this big controversy in 1986 because there was a building that it moved into that was constructed by the Japanese occupational government back, during the 1910s, 1920s, when they were occupying Korea. And that building had been their headquarters. And so after liberation, the Korean government continued to use that building for different purposes. I believe Lee Seung-man, the first president after the war, was inaugurated there when he took office. And so that building was always controversial. And when this museum moved into it, that's a big deal, right? You're putting all these historical relics of Korea into this building that is a symbol of, one of the darkest periods in modern Korean history. And, one of the darkest periods in Korean history, period, I think. Then in 1995, the Kim Yongsan government decided to demolish that building, and the museum was put into temporary location. But around the same time, this land had been undergoing some ownership changes because this used to be part of an 18-hole golf course on the Yongsan garrison. And I guess in 1988, the Korean government and the US government started talking about returning some of the land of the Yongsan garrison to the Korean government. And so this golf course is what they were, is what was put on the table, I guess. They were able to develop this land as a permanent site for the National Museum, but the National Museum stayed in that temporary location for about 10 years, and it didn't open here until 2005. And just next door, you've got the Hangul Museum. Hangul is the Korean alphabet. And I have never been into either of these museums, I'm sad to say. I should go, and I intend to go. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But when I do, now that I have a vlog, I can maybe tell you a little bit about it after the fact. And this right here is the on-ramp to the Dongjak Daegyo, the Dongjak Bridge. It leads over the Han River to Dongjak-gu. Comes out very near the Seoul National Cemetery. This is the Yongsan Family Park, and this was the first park to open on former Yongsan garrison land. This also used to be part of the big 18-hole golf course. And it's a huge park. I guess there's like a 2-kilometer track you can walk around. Now, there's some information here that is new to me. This right here, May of 1991, it says the American Army golf course was relocated. And I was always under the impression that it was still open. I got here in June of 91, June 5th. I arrived here on June 5th of 1991. And I always assumed it was still open because people talked about it as if it was still open. Now, I was only here at Yongsan for a day, before I got shipped up to Camp Casey, and I spent, my first 2 years there and visited here periodically. But my first 6 months or so, I didn't come down here. And I knew that the golf course had closed during that time. I had heard that, but I always thought it was still open when I got here. Not only that, but this says it was relocated. And this has got me wondering now, because there was a golf course in Songnam that I heard about a lot through most of the 90s. And I just always understood that there had been 2 golf courses, one here at Yongsan and one in Songnam. But now I wonder if what really happened was that the golf course that was here just relocated to Songnam. They relocated it to land there. I bet that's what happened. Yeah, but you could, anybody with a base pass could go to the Songnam golf course and pay cheap greens fees, compared to the greens fees at Korean golf clubs. But yeah, I wonder if that's that's what really happened. But anyway, that's something I need to dig into later. But right here, we see that in November of 1992 is when the park first opened, and it was 297,000 square meters compared to 75,900 square meters today. And the reason it's smaller today is because in 1997, November of 1997, the National Museum, because of the National Museum coming over here, the size of the park was reduced, and this land dedicated to the museums. That was when they began development, I guess. So all of this used to be Yongsan Family Park. And now it's just this. And that is something else I didn't know. I was sure that they had intended some of this land to go to the National Museum from the beginning, but I guess that was a later development. That's interesting. I'm going to need to come out here and explore this place. I've only been here once. My wife and I used to live not far. I mean, it was in walking distance. It wasn't too close, but it was within walking distance. And we brought our dogs down here once. This was back in 2004. And that was the first time I had ever gone inside, and I haven't been back since. I don't remember ever seeing any trains on Yongsan when I was there. I don't know if this was still operational then or not.
When I say on Yongsan, of course, I mean the Yongsan garrison. It's, when we say Yongsan, there's also Yongsan-gu, the district that we're located in. I guess Yongsan is translated as Dragon Hill, and that's why the name of the hotel on the base is the Dragon Hill Lodge. Just over there, that is Seoul Station. That's on the Gyeonggi-Jungang line, which runs through Yongsan Station back that way, and out along the river, the same line where Paltang Station is located, where I got off for my hike in the previous video. And here we go, Yongsan Park. So this place used to be called Black Hawk Village, and it was a little apartment complex, and I guess it was for senior officers. I'm not sure exactly, but I assume that's what it was, and their families. Most soldiers were not allowed to bring their families here because this is what they called a hardship tour, and by hardship tour they just mean you can't bring your families. It's a one-year tour. You go to Germany, 2-year tour, you could bring your family, and on the government's dime. 1-year tour, can't bring your family unless you pay for it yourself, and then you're not going to get any support for housing or anything like that. But I knew some soldiers who did it. They put their families up in houses near the base, and it was possible to get permission to live off base under certain specific circumstances, sometimes because of overcrowded barracks or whatever. But mostly you were required to live on base. And but if you were eligible to have your dependents come over with you because you were here for a couple of years in a senior position or whatever, then you might end up in Black Hawk Village, or maybe even the Hanam Village, the military apartments that used to be in Hanamdong that are now luxury apartments. And this is the old bus stop. And this is pretty cool. I think the last time I came here, I don't think it was decorated like this. I think it was just like it had always been, but they've added this artwork to it. But yeah, that's the original bus stop, aside from the artwork. Just like it used to look. They used to have these light green buses running around the base. You can just wander around. It's freely accessible. So the buildings look pretty much as they did 30 years ago, when I was coming through here. Not that I spent much time here. I might have come through here a couple of times over the years. Usually had no reason to come out this way. The only time I came through maybe was when I just happened to be outside the base over here for some reason. Seoul Station nearby, and I'd come through. In fact, once I left the Army, even though I was working on base, I probably never came out here even one time. So they've got coffee shops around somewhere. I'd love it if they let you go into some of the apartments just to look around.
One more kiss, dear. One more sigh. Only this, dear, is goodbye. For our love is such pain and such pleasure that So for now, dear, au revoir, ma belle. But I vow, dear, not farewell. For in time we may have all love's glory, our love story to tell. Just as every autumn leaves fall from the trees, tumble to the ground and die, so in the springtime, like sweet memories, they will return as will I, like the sun, dear, upon high, will return, dear, to the sky, and will banish the pain and the sorrow until tomorrow. Goodbye. One more kiss, dear. One more sigh. Only this, dear, is goodbye. For our love is such passion, such pleasure. I will treasure until I die, like the sun, dear, upon high, will return, dear, to the sky, and will banish the pain and the sorrow until tomorrow. Goodbye.
I was a little bit confused when I saw this sign, Loring Village. I've never heard that name before. And I know I would have passed this sign, well, on that road anyway. I probably never came down this one. I don't know, maybe the bus did. But I never knew this was called Loring Village. I've always known it as Black Hawk Village. But I'll get to that in just a minute. But Loring was a major in the Air Force in the Korean War, and I guess he was in the Army Air Corps in World War II. But in the Korean War, he was dive bombing some enemy emplacements that were harassing friendly troops, and his aircraft was hit. He, quote, deliberately altered his course and aimed his diving aircraft at active gun emplacements concentrated on a ridge northwest of the briefed target, turned his aircraft 45 degrees to the left, pulled up in a deliberate, controlled maneuver, and elected to sacrifice his life by diving his aircraft directly into the midst of the enemy emplacements. And for that action, he was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. And this little village is named for him. So I've always known this as Black Hawk Village, and this is the first time I've ever heard it referred to as Loring Village. So I just did a search for Loring Village, and it is known as Black Hawk Village. That's what everybody commonly referred to it here. I found out that this is for field grade officers, which means major, lieutenant colonel, and colonel. So that clarifies that for me. Apparently there were 3 field grade officer little apartment areas around here, and all of them were referred to by names that were not the official names. So, it's a little strange coming through here. Kind of makes me wish I had come this way more often so that I could have more of a connection to it. But just seeing the buildings and the signs, and yeah, brings back a lot of memories. Not directly connected to this, but around it. I always liked being on base here because it was like a little oasis in the middle of the city. So this was always a nice little refuge. And even when I was no longer in the military, when I was working here, I would still come and hang out on base sometimes, just to escape the bustle of the city. It's sometimes hard to believe it's been so long. Doesn't seem like that long ago at all. But it is quiet here, right? We're getting close to the gate, and you'll get the noise from the traffic, but being away from those gates, deep into the center of the base, it's always quiet. All right, so this is my second time visiting Yongsan Park. The first time was just to check it out and see what's there, and if it was something that might be worth bringing you along with me to see. And I've been meaning to get back to it with the camera, so I figured today was as good a day as any. And I hope you enjoyed going through there with me and seeing some of the potential sights you can see here when you're visiting Seoul. One of these days I'm going to get into the museum and see what I can do. I don't know if you're allowed to film in there or not, but I will see what kind of vlog I can make from that and show you as much of it as I can. But for now, that's all I've got for you. So thanks for watching as always, and thanks for liking, and thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
One more kiss.